I'll be honest with you, it's even worse than I expected. Good afternoon, fine people of the internet. Welcome back to Maverick Baking and welcome back to Italy. I know. Today I am very happily going to be sinking my teeth into Italy's most famous chocolate, Venchi. If you've ever traveled to Italy, especially to one of the kind of big touristy cities like Florence, like Rome, like Venice, you will probably have seen Venchi somewhere. But is their chocolate up to the quality that the bougie surroundings of their stores would suggest? And is it worth picking up if you're on holiday or if you live here? Let's find out. Today we are going to be tasting 3 bars that I picked up in Venchi store, plus a cheeky little bonus one that you get if you buy 3 bars in one go. We're going to be tasting their Gianduia number 3, so think chocolate and hazelnut. Think a solid bar of Nutella, but fancier packaging. We're going to be trying the Cremino Pistacchio, which is, I think, going to be like a 3-layered chocolate bar with milk chocolate, white chocolate, and pistachio, which surely can't be bad. And we're also going to be tasting a slightly more refined 85% dark chocolate from Venezuela, which is clearly marketed more at the chocolate nerds rather than, you know, the luxury bougie sweet market. And a standard dark chocolate, which is 75%. Let's get into it. I'm going to kick off with the Gianduia bar. So this bar is made up of 63% dark chocolate along with just a little bit of sugar and a little bit of hazelnut paste. I'm expecting and hoping for lovely things. The smell is already giving me the best vibes possible. And I'm very pleased to say they put a little bit of effort into that shape, into the mold for their chocolate. So you can see we have different kind of shaped chunks of chocolate. We have the branding, an immediate and intense hazelnut smell. Very, very soft, as you can see, as most Gianduia is. Think of kind of Lindt Lindor truffles. Think of Ferrero Rocher flavor. That kind of soft, melting, creamy, sweet hazelnutty stuff. That is the very definition of intense. Rather than being a chocolate bar, this is almost like a solid bar made of the inside of a chocolate truffle. Even if you had no teeth, you would love this bar because it does not need to be chewed, it just melts. It tastes a lot darker and a lot more intense than it actually looks, though it has the kind of creaminess of a standard milk chocolate because of those hazelnuts in there. There is a rich chocolate taste, though it is still very sweet. Again, think of the flavor of Nutella just ramped up a little bit more hazelnut, bit more cocoa. It's not the finest chocolate I've ever tasted in my life in terms of the flavor of the cocoa, but if you like chocolate and hazelnut together, this is it. This is the end. Good night. I love how smooth it is. I love that it's intense, and I love that it's not too sweet for what it's trying to be. On that basis, I'm going to give this Gianduia number 3 a very happy 4 out of 5. Shall we move on to something equally nutty? So next we're going to move on to the Cremino Pistacchio, which is made of sugar, pistachio paste, 25% pistachio paste, so we're expecting some real intense flavor from this one too. Cocoa butter, milk powder, cocoa mass, and some whey powder, and a little bit of vanilla flavoring in there. So it sounds like this is going to be a bit more like a white chocolate with just a little embellishment of pistachio and of milk chocolate in there. We have a totally different design from the last bar, which we love, and you hopefully will be able to see if my camera decides to pick up in this light. Hopefully you'll be able to pick up those 3 distinct layers in the middle of the chocolate there. Cremino, I believe, is a treat that's either sold in bars or in little kind of bite-sized truffle pieces. You'll see them in bakeries here, you'll see them in chocolate shops, and I think it's usually a combination of milk chocolate, hazelnut, and almond in those 3 layers. But this looks like it's going to just be a pistachio and chocolate sandwich. Bear in mind that we're currently in November here in Italy, where it is very mild weathered, occasionally a bit cold. I have no idea how a bar like this would hold up if you purchased it in April, May, June, July, any other month in Italy. It seems like it would be very, very difficult to eat, but it smells unreal. Let's see how it tastes. Oh wow. Ticking every single box for me, except maybe a tiny, tiny pinch of salt in there. Supremely creamy, supremely nutty, that strong pistachio flavor, but none of the kind of horrible artificial marzipan-like pistachio flavor. It tastes properly like a paste made with the natural nuts themselves. Very, very sweet, very intense. Again, much like eating the center of a truffle in bar form. And for pistachio lovers or white chocolate lovers, an absolute winner. But for me, if there had just been a little pinch of like even chunks of sea salt or chunks of the roasted pistachio in there, something like that, for me personally, that would take it to absolutely unbeatable. But it's very bloody good. So on that basis, in it hitting pretty much every single taste bud it needs to hit, but maybe lacking just a little bit of salt for all the sweetness going on, I'll give this one another very happy 4 out of 5. Shall we move on to something a bit more sophisticated? In their 85% Venezuela dark chocolate. Venezuelan chocolate is known for being very kind of nutty and earthy in my experience. And I'm not really sure why they decided to choose that origin. Cocoa mass, sugar, and cocoa butter. There's no vanilla flavoring, there's no emulsifier, there's nothing that could kind of disrupt that chocolate flavor. So here's hoping it's fine and dandy. Similar design to the first bar we had, as you can see, but we have a lovely kind of improved shine on this one, and hopefully, yes, a very good snap. Let's see how it is. A little bit fruity, a little bit nutty, super intense, but not too bitter. It's not the most mind-blowing dark chocolate I've ever had, but if you're someone who's trying to get into the dark stuff without buying some cheap, burnt-tasting trash, this might be one worth trying. Because it only has 3 ingredients, obviously the flavor is very strong, that lovely kind of bitter sweetness that comes with dark chocolate, but it does have flavors. They haven't roasted the beans beyond recognition, they haven't rushed it through, and they haven't added too much sugar to balance out crappy flavor. It's pretty good. It's pretty good indeed, and especially for 85%, which can often feel like you're eating used coffee grounds from some companies, but they have managed to make that pretty balanced and pretty bloody pleasant, if you ask me. I'm happy to give that one another 4 out of 5. The one I'm most intrigued by and least trusting of from Venchi, even though we've had pretty much all good news so far, is this free sample that came with the 3 bars that you purchased from any of their stores at the moment. This is a 75% dark, or in Italian, fondente, but this one's ingredients are, if you'll forgive me, questionable. Rather than actual cocoa mass as the main ingredient, this is dark chocolate made mostly with cocoa powder, followed by cocoa butter, mass, sugar, an emulsifier, and vanilla flavor. That suggests to me that the reason this was free is not going to be a good thing, because this may have been a way for them to use up a lot of their cheaper ingredients, but just into a bar that people aren't going to complain about because it's free. And for an actual chocolate bar, cocoa powder being the main ingredient is a little bit because cocoa powder is incredibly dry and often very flat tasting, and it doesn't lead to a lot of kind of smoothness in a chocolate bar, but we'll see. Pretty much the same design on this bar as with the last one, but we have a decent kind of shine on it and a decent snap. But let's see how this one tastes. I'll be honest with you, it's even worse than I expected. If you've ever made hot chocolate just with cocoa powder and water, maybe not all of you are as desperate as I am for a hot chocolate sometimes, but that's what this is giving me. Flat, burnt, not smooth at all. For some reason, both sweet and incredibly not. A little bit of vanilla to make the whole thing slightly more pleasant. That's not good. That's not good at all. It tastes like you found the cheapest dark chocolate advent calendar or novelty Easter chocolate for kids and shoved it into some very bougie packaging. I understand why this was free. You know, in baking, fantastic. If they sold this as a baking bar or as a dessert ingredient, fine. You could probably make semi-decent hot chocolate from it if you added lots of milk, whipped cream, marshmallows, and other things. But on its own, especially compared to the quality of the 3 bars before it, put this one in your cookies or your muffins or into your frosting. Don't put it directly into your mouth, please. I'm gonna give that one a very, very quiet 1 out of 5. But it's not all bad news. I still have some lovely Gianduia to refresh the palate. And that's all we have time for today. If you guys have ever tasted Venchi, or if you've ever walked past but never quite plucked up the courage or the budget to go in and purchase something, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But that is all I have time for today, guys. Thank you so much as always for watching. Don't forget you can support the channel on Patreon. The link is always in the description box below. But for now, thank you so much as always, and I will see you for the next one.